My partner Samhain sings, like, every day. It's really nice having that much music in my life. And a couple weeks ago, she sang Yes, Sir, That's My Baby, and I immediately thought of Jason Robards playing the ukulele.
Yes, sir, that's a baby. No, sir, don't be baby. Yes, sir, that's a baby.
A Thousand Clowns is a 1965 film adaptation of a stage play with the same name. Robards recreates his role as Murray Burns. All around him, Murray sees people living the polite, responsible, inauthentic lives other people told them they're supposed to live. And for him, that's worse than death.
You learn to know everything before it happens. You learn how to plan. Learn how to be one of the nice dead people.
He's an unemployed TV writer, living his life on his own terms, and raising his 12-year-old nephew, Nick.
Checking with that child welfare place. Same place you got those letters from.
I never answer letters from large organizations.
Nick is played by Barry Gordon, and even if you've never seen this film, chances are you've heard his voice.
I'm getting mutton for Christmas.
You wouldn't last 5 minutes in a ninja pizza parlor. I love saying lines like that.
This child welfare crowd, they want to take a look at our environment there.
His performance as Nick is really great. It's maybe my favorite in the film. He's very funny.
That was unavoidable. You know when I have a lot of work, you stay up at Mrs. Myers.
Murray, your work forgot her gloves last night.
And he's such a weird little nerd.
Murray, I am upset. Now, for me as an actual child, the way you live in this house and we live is a dangerous thing for my later life when I become an actual person.
All the performances in the film are great. Robards, of course, really takes center stage, but everyone around him is perfectly cast. Like, William Daniels plays one of the two social workers, and he's extremely William Daniels.
You know, you speak like you write everything down before you say it.
Well, yes, I do speak that way, Mr. Burns. I wish I spoke more spontaneously. I will always appear foolish in a conversation with a person of your imagination. I think we ought to turn off...
The other social worker is Sandra, played by Barbara Harris. And the thing about Barbara Harris is that she is one of my favorite actors of all time. If Barbara Harris is in a movie, I will watch it, even if it's bad. I watch Nice Girls Don't Explode because Barbara Harris is in it.
Thank you, Helen.
That's Ellen.
I'm sorry, Ellen. Goodbye.
Call me! Oops.
Her job in A Thousand Clowns is to make you believe that in the course of a single day, she falls in love with Murray Burns. And I think she pulls it off. Sandra is someone who has been living the life she was told she wanted. She's engaged to be married to William Daniels' character. She went to school. She has a good job. But none of it makes her happy. And it never occurred to her until this moment, until this guy who lives by his own rules, that she can do that too.
But damn it, be glad it turned out you're not reasonable and sensible. Have all the gratitude you can that you're capable of embarrassment and joy and are a marathon crier.
So in love with him, and I'm so very happy. Well, what do you mean? What do I mean happy?
Hey, you see, it's a great thing to do when you're about to start something new. You see a boat off. It gives you the genuine feeling of the beginning. Hey, bon voyage, Charlie, have a wonderful time.
Bon voyage, Charlie, have a wonderful time.
Murray needs to get a job to keep custody of Nick, but all these people are idiots and ghouls and phonies. So when he comes back to Sandra, he's failed. And in this moment, she realizes this whole thing was an absurd dream.
I can see why Nick liked it here. I would like it too if I was 12 years old.
Hey, stick with me, Dr. Markowitz. You know, anything can happen above an abandoned Chinese restaurant.
Now, by the end of the film, Murray will have a job. Not just a job, but one that goes against his principles. Because the story of Murray Burns is a tragedy. And this proved to be a problem for its playwright, Herb Gardner. He spent 3 years trying to find a producer. Some producers said it was too funny to be sad. Some said it was too sad to be funny. Gardner had been the cartoonist of the popular and widely merchandised comic strip, The Nebbishes. He once said that eventually he found that the word balloons were crowding out the drawings, so he started writing plays. Gardner palled around Greenwich Village with his good friends Shel Silverstein, Paddy Chayefsky, and Gene Shepard. Now, Shepard's best known today as the guy who wrote and narrated A Christmas Story.
The lamp blazed forth in unparalleled glory.
But he had a long career in nighttime radio. There's a famous prank where he got his listeners to ask bookstores to order I, Libertine, a book that didn't exist.
Go in and don't crack a smile. Don't do anything. And when the man says to you, the first thing I says, he's also bound by lists.
Suppose they put him in with a whole family of list makers.
The next guy that comes in and asks for this, he'll say, it's on order. And the third one that comes in, he's going to be on his phone calling the distributor.
Yeah. I want him to know it's worth all the trouble just to give the world a little goosing once you get the chance.
Shepard often drew a distinction between the day people, conformist phonies who think in prescribed patterns and reject individuality.
I want him to stay awake and know who the phonies are.
And the night people, the people who refuse to be taken in by the day world, man.
I want him to know the sneaky, subtle, important reason he was born a human being and not a chair.
So Herb Gardner writes this play about his friend Gene Shepard, and he's having no luck getting it made. But then he gets introduced to Fred Coe. Coe was the producer of several weekly anthology series at NBC. He actually had worked with Gardner's friend Paddy Chayefsky, and this includes Chayefsky's best-known work at that time, Marty.
For a guy from Alligator, Mississippi, he resented the blacklist furiously, and we did everything we could to break it. We snuck people onto the shows, we changed names, we did everything. His attitude toward the writers was the most exquisite and sensible that I knew.
You know, he was very protective, and he made you feel essential.
He would say, okay, you got it. Do 5 shows. And sometimes they didn't finish. They couldn't get all 5 done. And my suspicion is that he paid them for 5 anyway.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So Coe meets Gardner, falls in love with the play, and produces and directs it on Broadway, and then produces and directs the film. Now, he had directed a lot of television at this point. Episodes of Philco Television Playhouse, Goodyear Television Playhouse, Playhouse 90, even an episode of the Colgate Comedy Hour.
I don't know what the Colgate Hour is.
Okay, pass.
It's important to remember that all of these drama anthologies are being shot and broadcast live.
Sound effects going wrong would set Fred off like a rocket. I remember one of our early shows, we had a little piece of film of a dummy falling out of a window, supposed to be a body, and hitting on the pavement of New York, but the sound effects came about a split second before the body hit the surface. Fred was fit to be tied.
And this dictated how Coe and the other directors working under him approached the job.
He liked low cameras to see the eyes of the actors. He liked over shoulders to be not a whole hunk of a back and a small face opposite. He wanted that camera framed very, very tightly on the foreground figure and the emphasis on the face facing the camera. He did not like unnecessary camera moves. He did not like unnecessary camera cuts.
So, Coe's style is very simple, very straightforward. The focus is on capturing the performances, telling the story. No muss, no fuss. And that's how he directed 1,000 Clowns. And Herb Gardner hated it.
I felt responsible as the screenwriter. They shot what I wrote, but I saw no life in it. It was still too much like the play.
And Coe relays this to the editor, Ralph Rosenblum. If you were into movies in the 60s and 70s and you knew the name of one American editor, that editor was probably Ralph Rosenblum. He had a low opinion of most directors. He felt most of them were pretentious, ego-tripping mediocrities. In his autobiography, he recounts more than one example of a film he saved in the editing. He also used editing in a very expressive way, splicing together flashes of images to build tension, tease out themes, or evoke memory and trauma. Rosenblum firmly believed that it was the invention of editing which made film an art form instead of a recording medium, which made a film a film. And Herb Gardner says to this guy, I hate this. It feels like we just recorded a play. Can we turn it into a film? And Rosenblum is like, yes, let's do that. And Fred Coe basically says, yeah, I don't really care. You guys do whatever you want. And so the two of them did for 11 months. For comparison, Rosenblum had cut together his other films in 3 or 4 months. Gardner wanted to do some reshoots, especially more location work to open the thing up. He also wanted to make some of the dialogue scenes shorter. There had been a long dialogue sequence near the beginning of the film where Nick and Murray walk around New York visiting 4 different places. But it still felt very stage-bound, very talky.
Suddenly I thought, it doesn't have to be a day. It could be all the days they've ever talked about this. Maybe it's many days. Maybe Nick asks him a question on a pier, and Murray answers him in front of the Statue of Liberty.
Say, what you got there, kid? The want ads or the obituary?
Okay, kid, read me some more want ads.
You know, Murray, you don't want a job is the whole thing.
You just concentrate on being a child because I find your imitation of an adult hopelessly inadequate.
Well, you want to be your own boss, Murray, but the trouble with that is you don't pay yourself anything.
In order to make it work, we had to choose pieces of film from the original scenes in which the character who was speaking was looking away from the camera.
Those letters from?
I never answer letters from large organizations.
Some of the conversation played over silent footage of Murray and Nick that Herb shot. We had to select long shots or angles that didn't reveal the speaker's face.
Huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
And I wish you'd get a job, Murray. Please.
You're absolutely right.
In this kind of sequence, you've seen it dozens of times. It's a standard technique. But this was one of the first times anyone had done that.
The real continuity was on the soundtrack, while the visuals offered a kaleidoscopic view of the world of Murray Burns.
This approach is also evident in the film's new opening.
Nick, in a moment, you're going to see a horrible thing.
What's that?
People going to work.
Gardner shot this footage with cameraman Joe Coffey. Just shot a bunch of people going to work without their permission, and then he and Rosenblum cut it to marching music. Gardner saw this as a breakthrough in finding a style for the movie. He was ecstatic.
This was just like movies now. This is what Murray talked about. Going to work, what it feels like, what it can look like with these long early morning shadows, with every New York face looking like they're about to be executed.
And this is a way the film gets us into Murray's head. Gets us on Murray's side. Because every other character is pretty critical of Murray, and some degree of tired of his iconoclast shtick.
Now, an unemployed person like you are for so many months is bad for you as the person involved, and it's definitely bad for me.
By the genuinely dangerous, emotional climate you have made for him.
We live in the same house where the rent isn't paid up for months sometimes.
What's this game you play gonna be like in 10 years without youth?
For yours is, I believe, a distorted picture of this world.
It had no effect on you at all. I've made no difference.
Your villains and heroes are all so terribly clear to you.
I first saw this film as a teenager, and at that time I was really on Murray's side. But once I got into my 20s, it was like, yeah, but you gotta get a job, man. You gotta do right by that kid. And that's still where I am now. But I also understand what Murray's being asked to give up. I'm very fortunate in that I don't have a real job, and I say that and people fight me. And they're like, no, what you do is work, you put in so many hours, and that's true. But I decide what I do with those hours. I own my own time. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I don't need to tolerate cruelty or stupidity from a superior or a client. I don't need to hold my tongue or hide who I am or compromise in any way to live the life I want to live. And that is a gift, and most people don't get to have that. And I'm very grateful for that because it does feel like life instead of like work. It does feel like me instead of the person people told me I'm supposed to be. And I look at the future and I worry. Because it's a precarious time to be making board games right now. It's a precarious time to be a trans woman in America right now. And I wonder what parts of myself I will need to give up in order to do right by the people that I love.
Sandy, I don't want him to go. I like having him around here.
Now, there's a complex montage sequence at the film's hinge point where Murray's going to interviews, intercut with Sandra on the phone with her mother and redecorating. During that sequence, it's suddenly time for lunch. And the footage concentrates on the messy mechanics of eating, throwing in comparisons to babies and to animals, and it really gets across Murray's contempt for day people, and that in turn really sells his antagonism to his prospective employers, and his unwillingness to become part of this world.
Murray, you didn't take any of the jobs.
Sandy, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Well, damn it, lady, that was a beautiful apology. I mean, you gotta love a guy who can apologize so nice. I rehearsed it for over an hour. We'll stand on the dock and watch it go. Oh, gives you the genuine feeling of the beginning of things. Hey, bon voyage, Charlie! Have a wonderful time!
And the juxtaposition here is really interesting because it's the only time the editing shifts this point of view from Murray to someone else, to Sandra. And it takes that moment of joy from earlier in the film and repurposes it into something that knocks the wind out of her. After Sandra leaves, Murray's brother Arnold comes in and does a speech at him. It's a pretty good speech. It's a pretty good performance by Martin Balsam.
I'm gifted. I have a talent for surrender, and I'm at peace. But you, oh, you're cursed.
He won an Academy Award for Best Supporting for this, and this is basically his only real scene. And into this sequence, there's a callback, a splice of marching footage without the music, without the satirical edge, without the comedy. It becomes a thing of dread.
I didn't know unless I really concentrated, whether it was a Tuesday or a Thursday or for a minute. It could have been any day, Arn. I gotta know what day it is.
Now, Balsam was one of 3 actors cast in the film who weren't in the stage show. He replaced Larry Haynes. I already mentioned Barbara Harris. She replaced Sandy Dennis. On stage, Gene Saks played Murray's old boss, Chuckles the Chipmunk, but he was unavailable, so Coe recast him with Paul Richards, who approached this comedy role in a very serious way. Rosenblum described him as dark and brooding, said it felt like he might kill the other characters at any moment, and that really just does not work. But during this months-long editing process, Saks had a hole in his schedule, so Gardner and Coffey just completely reshot the film's 3rd act. So Chuckles shows up to try to rehire Murray. Saks has this manic energy, and he's at once completely full of himself and also completely crippled by doubt and self-loathing.
What do you want from me? I'm a coward. Everybody knows. Oh, my God. Did you ever see anything so immodest? Feels like the bomb out in front of children, you flop out in front of kids, Murray. I swear to God, they're ready to kill you. Or else they stare at you. That's the worst. That hurt, innocent little stare like you just killed that pup or raped that turtle or something. People nervous. Who can listen to me for 10 minutes, right? You see that? You see that? See how I kept touching my suit, my tie like that? I keep touching myself to make sure I'm still here. I get this feeling. Maybe I vanished when I wasn't looking. A sheet over it or something, will you please?
He's a cruel, vindictive idiot who doesn't respect his audience or the work. Murray can't stand him. You can see why he quit. The last time Chuckles tried to rehire him, Murray chased him out.
It was a week after you quit me. You walked into the kitchen and started singing, "Yes, sir, that's my baby," and I left. Feeling very foolish, like I had footprints on my face. You monkey. You're a monkey. You're an old monkey, aren't you, huh? Walked in the kitchen and started singing, "Yes, sir, that's my baby."
This really is Murray's last chance to get a job and keep custody of Nick. So he's prepared to just sit there and take it.
I don't go over with these odd kids. Well, look at him. Here I am right in front of him in person, for God's sakes. He's staring at me. Shame. It's a shame the way you brought the kid up here. Grotesque atmosphere. Unhealthy. Women in and out. Decorators. Yeah. Had he been brought up by a normal person, not in this madhouse.
Hey, don't say that.
A certain freakish kind of growing up. Freakish way of growing up.
Hey, are you calling me a freak?
But again, this is their last chance. So even if this venal little man is heaping verbal abuse on this child, Murray's not going to fight back.
Yes, sir, that's my baby, no, sir.
That's the song. That's the goodbye song.
That's my baby.
Hey, Leo, what's the nuts here?
Yes, sir.
Now, look, wait a minute.
Leo,
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Better cut that out.
Come on, Murray, take it. We'll sing to him. He'll go away.
No, Nick, we can't. Now, just, come on, just put it down.
Oh, come on, Murray, let him go away. He called his name. We gotta
Be
get rid of
quiet for just a minute,
Oh,
please.
Murray, let him go away.
It's a betrayal not just of his own principles, but a betrayal of the kid. A betrayal he makes out of his love for the kid.
We gotta, please. Please,
we can't. We can't. Oh, kid, I'm sorry. Sorry, kid.
And this is why I associate this song with this film, because it carries this emotional weight. It's this symbol of Murray's relationship with Nick, a symbol of his individualism, a symbol of his ultimate compromise, a compromise that breaks Nick's heart and lets him down. And in the end, Murray is so deflated, so resigned. And I think that feeling is made so much sharper, so much sadder, because it exists in contrast to and in the context of the film's buoyant, expressive editing. 1,000 Clowns was nominated that year for Best Picture, but lost to The Sound of Music, which blows. The Sound of Music is hokey and dated. It was hokey and dated when it came out. Compared to that film, compared to most films from 1965, 1,000 Clowns feels fresh, modern, lively. Some of that's to writing, some of that's to performances, but a lot of it is the editing, which doesn't feel all that revolutionary today, because these techniques have become part of our basic grammar. But at the time, Rosenblum's approach snagged the film a nomination for the American Cinema Editors Award for Best Editing of a Feature Film, which the film also lost to The Sound of Music.
Yes, by the way, when we meet, somebody will stay. Yes, sir, that's my baby. No, sir, I don't mean maybe. Yes, sir, that's my baby now.
I do Alexander Hamilton, and Murray does a terrific Thomas Jefferson. We got the voices just right.
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Say hello, Tom. You know, you should have been in Congress today.
Yeah.
You really did.
Oh, this is ridiculous. You can't do an imitation of Alexander Hamilton. Nobody knows what he sounds like.
Well, that's the funny part.